We continue now at the top of Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph Mesechet Nedarim. This is Nedarim Daf 47a. The Mishnah said, "Omer lechaveru v'chulu." Let's say a person says to his friend, he takes a konim, he says, "I'm not going to enter your house." And then it turns out that the person sells the house, so then he's mutter because it's not your house anymore. But if he says, "I'm not going to enter this house," and then the other person sells the house, so then the konim would remain, the neder would remain, and he's prohibited from entering the house. And so the Gemara now says, Boya Avime asks the following question. Konim lebayis zeh sha'aton nichnas. Let's say the person says a konim on this house that you are not allowed to enter. In other words, not the person saying about himself, I am making a konim that I am not going to enter the house. Let's say he says, I'm making a konim that you are not going to enter this house, and he uses the terminology of this house, not my house. So in that case, let's say he dies or he sells it to somebody else. Mahu, what would be the halacha? Adam oser davar shebereshuso lecheshiyetze mereshuso olo. Do we say that a person can prohibit something which is in his reshus even for a time after it leaves his reshus? Or do we say that a person cannot prohibit in that fashion, again, in this particular case, where the person is taking his item and prohibiting it on somebody else? Amar Rava says, Tashma, come in here the following proof. Ha'omer livno konim shi'ata neheneli. Let's say a person says to his son, a konim, that you're not going to get any benefit from me. The father is telling the son that the son cannot benefit from him, from the father. Vames, and then he dies. Yereshenu, so then he's able to inherit him. In other words, you're not going to benefit from me, and that only applies during my lifetime. And when the father dies, so the konim is lifted. Bechayav uvamoso, but now if he specifies and he says that you're not going to benefit from me, bechayav uvamoso, meaning in my life and even after my death, you're not going to benefit. Vames, and he dies, lo yirashenu. So in that case, he is not allowed to inherit him. So in other words, it's saying that if the person is explicit and says even b'moso, apparently that prohibition does remain in effect. And so the Gemara says, Shema Mina, you see from this, Adam oser davar shebereshuso lecheshiyetze mereshuso. A person could prohibit something that's in his reshus even for a time after it leaves his reshus. Shema Mina, and the Gemara says, indeed, you do see that this is a proof that the person is able to be oser even lecheshiyetze mereshuso. And the Gemara continues to Nan Hasam. We learned over there in the Mishnah, Konem Peros Ha'elu Olai, Konem Hein Alpi, Konem Hein Lifi. Let's say a person says a Konem, these fruits upon me, or on my mouth, or to my mouth. So in other words, he makes a Konem. Now he's not saying a particular species of fruit. He's saying he's identifying the actual fruits, and he's saying he's making them prohibited to himself. So in that situation, Asr b'chilufeyen uvegiduleyen. In that situation, it's Asr to have not only the fruits, but even things that you exchange. Let's say you exchange the fruits for something else. That's kind of like a davar shelo boli olam. It's not yet there. You're later going to exchange these fruits for something. Even that which you exchange the fruits for is going to be prohibited. Or begiduleyen, let's say the person takes the fruits, the seeds of the fruit, and he plants and he grows other things, so that also is going to be prohibited. And the Gemara says, Boy Rami Bar Chama asks as follows, Amar konim peros ha'elu al ploni. Let's say the person says that these peros, they're a konim, it's his peros, and he says, these peros of mine, I'm making a konim that so-and-so cannot have them. So he's putting the prohibition on someone else. So over there, mahu bechilufein, what would be the halacha in that case? Let's say the peros are exchanged for something else, would the prohibition remain in effect? Miyamrinon, do we say gabe delay when it comes to himself? Hoel va'adam oser peros chavero alatzmo. Since we know that a person is able to prohibit his friend's fruits upon himself. In other words, a person can say, or I can say, for example, my friend's fruits are prohibited to me. So since you can do that, so also Adam Oser Davar Shelo Ba Liolam Alatzmo. So too, a person can prohibit something that is not yet in the world on himself. Chilufehen, the exchange of these items is really something that's Davar Shelo Ba Liolam. It's not yet in the world, but since I'm prohibiting it to myself, so therefore that's okay. You can even prohibit Chilufehen. You can even prohibit Davar Shelo Ba Liolam. But Gabe Chavero, but when you're trying to prohibit something on your friend, by his friend, Hoel Ve'ein Adam Oser Peros Chavero Al Chavero. A person can't take the fruits of one person. He can't say, I want to take the fruits of Ruvain and make them usher to Shimon. Levi's not able to say that. He can't take Reuven's fruits and make them usher to Shimon. You can't usher the fruits of your friend on your other friend. So therefore, maybe over there, Ein Adam Oser Davar Shelo Bali Olam Al Chavero. So too, a person cannot prohibit something that's not yet in the world. Again, like Chilufei and things that are exchanged, as an example. A person maybe can't do that to his friend, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Mem Zayin Amud Beis.